And Speed World welcomes you to Millville, Minnesota as we get set for round 9 of the AMA 250cc Motocross Series.
Hello everyone, I'm John Kernan along with former motocross champion David Bailey. And David, we go from Unadilla last time to Millville this week, two totally different tracks, plus the weather. It's extremely hot.
That's right, it's almost 100 degrees right now. It's going to get hotter. Now when I used to race here at Millville, it was almost all sand. And now each year the sand kind of disappears. It's more hard packed, which makes it really tough to set up the suspension.
So what do the mechanics and the riders do to get it set up for this track?
Well, I don't think they can set it up for both. So since it's mostly hard packed, they'll set it up for that kind of condition, which means the suspension will be looser. The suspension will rebound quicker and allow that rear wheel to follow those sharp holes.
Well, as we head into round 9, the points still a 19-point separation between Mcgrath and Jeff Emig. More on that in just a moment. But first, let's take a look at the track map.
The Millville track offers a lot of challenges for the riders. There's a lot of uphills and downhills, some supercross stuff, a few rocks here and there. But the toughest part is you go from hard pack to sand. And one of the sandiest sections on the racetrack is down to the bottom left. And Art's standing by there with the story.
David, this is the area that you just got through talking about, the moniker of this track. Side-by-side, deep-rutted sand whoops. Now, we'll see if it's anything like years past. We'll see several riders go down here. But a lot of riders look at this as opportunity.
It's always been pretty rough back there, and I've always seemed to go through there well. And I know one year I was here on the 125, and I got like a 5th place start. I went into that section on 5th and come out in the lead, and I probably won't never forget that. I know Johnny O'Mara was one guy in front of me, Ronnie Tishner, and George Holland, and a couple of those other guys. So I like that section. The 250 is a little harder to ride through there because you can get going too fast.
Today, these sand whoops are a heck of a lot deeper than they were in practice today, and I had some trouble in there this morning. I've got these short legs; they don't work so well in this big, deep sand hole. So in practice, I flew off the bike, but came back in and I made some changes to my bike and went back out, and it felt really good.
The sand is, it's so tough. Especially it's so deep. You can lose a lot of time, you can make a lot of time in that section. So it's really tough. You just got to get back, like I said, and hold on, and get back over the back fender as far as you can.
I know it bit me on a 500 at the end of one of the sections in, I guess, 93, but I look forward to, trying to be the fastest guy through there and making up some time back there.
All the riders are saying stay back on the bike, keep up your momentum, and look ahead for the less talented and/or unlucky ones. Back to you, John.
All right, thank you. All right, we are getting set for the start of Moto number 1 here at Spring Creek Motocross Park. You get a good look at the riders, and they've got the umbrellas out there because, no, it is not raining, folks. It is hot.
Hot and humid. For a second there, a factory rider actually had to hold his own umbrella, John.
Unbelievable.
Right there, good look at Jeff Emig stretching out his forearms. He doesn't want any more water. He appears to be tanked up, getting loose and ready. He seems focused.
Jeff Emig trailing Jeremy Mcgrath by 19 points. Skip Norfolk and Jeremy sitting there. And David, what do you guys talk about to your mechanics when you're on the line getting ready to start?
Well, you just kind of go over the game plan, something you've talked about in the entire week leading up to the race, and make sure that you're focused on what your job is at hand, and not a whole lot, really. Make sure the gas is turned on.
Yeah, that's an important point. We are getting set for the start of Moto number 1. Welcome back to Spring Creek Motocross Park, Millville, Minnesota. David Bailey, Art Ekman, and John Kernan getting set to start round 9 of the AMA 250cc Outdoor Motocross Series. There you see the 40 riders, some of the 40 best riders in the world getting set to do battle, waiting for that gate to drop. Just hear him thundering like a bunch of bumblebees coming up there to that first turn. Let's see who's out in front of him. Looks like a Honda, and hey, that's Donnie Schmidt out of retirement riding up here. David, what a way to break out in front of the hometown fans, get the whole shot.
Oh, that's fantastic. And Donnie Schmidt doesn't ride this whole series. I want to point out he's coming from over racing in Europe and I think in retirement, actually. He's come out of retirement to ride this one race. That's why the number 100, and what a way to go out.
Man, I tell you what, he's got the fans, you can hear him cheering in the background, but look at that. Here comes the Kawasaki of Mike Cadrowski. Also, Jeremy Mcgrath is in the 3rd spot, and Larry Ward on the number 11 bike. He has settled down into the 4th spot. Look at Donnie as he's having little problems negotiating the whoops there. It looks like Cadrowski coming around to the outside. Oh, they almost get together. And speaking of getting together, look, that's Jeff Emig. 2nd place in points, and he's down and might have some serious damage. And look at that, John Dowd also trying to get his bike back up.
Well, this is disaster for Team Yamaha. John Dowd is the defending race champion, and Jeff Emig, as you mentioned, 2nd place in the points. Look, he has no front fender. everything's bent up. I don't even know if he's going to be able to finish this moto.
With no front fender, David, I mean, how big of a problem is that?
Well, I've ridden like that once in a mud race, and the front wheel looks like it's going to hit you right in the face every time the forks compress. It really takes a long time to get adjusted to that. Plus, the number plate's going to be flapping around.
Well, back up front now, look at Schmidt as he gave up the first spot to Cadrowski, but acts like he wants it back. Almost has a problem there with the rut. Now look, Jeremy Mcgrath is alongside, and Jeremy looking to take over that second spot, but for right now, Mike Cadrowski is out in front.
Well, I think Donnie Schmidt's going to get a lesson in how to go fast here pretty quick. These guys don't fool around, and right now he's following the fastest rider in the world, Jeremy Mcgrath.
And Jeremy Mcgrath, of course, leading the points, as I said, by 19 over Emig, and now you look back, and these guys still haven't refired, and look what is sticking out of the spokes on Emmig's bike.
Well, it looks like the front brake cable and the front fork guard, that's upside-down forks, and there's a guard there to protect the bottom of that fork leg, and it's all sticking out. Like I said, I don't even know if he's going to be able to get restarted and finish this moto.
Would it be worth his while to pull over and do some repairs and then rejoin the race?
Well, I think so. He's already lost quite a bit of time, but he's got to go an entire lap before he can get back to the mechanics area, so he'll lose a lot of time in the process.
Man, I tell you what, that's going to put some distance between first and second. It was only 19 coming in, and Jeremy Mcgrath is riding in second spot right now. I guess Jeremy can sit back and cruise behind Cadrowski.
Well, I don't think he's going to be content to do that. However, in theory, he could. And I don't know if they would have showed him a signal that Emig has had those problems right away. But you can bet somewhere during the moto that Skip Norfolk will throw on the pit board that Emig is way back in the field.
Now we got a battle developing for the third spot between Donnie Schmidt and Larry Ward. Ward, of course, had a great Supercross season, finishing second to Mcgrath, but outdoors had somewhat of a disappointing year so far. And speaking of disappointing, Mike Cadrowski on that 7 Kawasaki, he's had some ups and downs. In fact, he had a win at Hangtown, the second of the year, and basically we haven't heard that much from him since.
Right, well, after that second moto at Hangtown, I thought, oh, here we go. It's going to be a lot like last year, only Larocco doesn't factor into the points, because Cadrowski looked fantastic there, and he just hasn't been able to find that rhythm since. And here today, he's got a great opportunity, but he's got Jeremy Mcgrath breathing down his neck.
Yeah, but won't that make him ride a little bit faster?
Yeah, maybe faster, but also a little more tense and nervous, because you got to ride more defensive. You know, when Mcgrath's that close, you can bet it plays a part. Right there, he came up a little bit short on that plateau, and that's just an example of some of the mistakes that a rider like Mcgrath can force you to make.
But he doesn't do it on purpose, right? It's your own mental mistakes that you make thinking about him.
Sure. It's that kind of pressure just really messes with people. And if you notice, everybody that ever seems to be close enough to Mcgrath to mount a challenge, they always seem to have a problem. And I think that's not any accident.
Well, look at this. Back in the pit area, some repairs being put on the 2 Yamaha bikes, Dowd and Emig. Now, we didn't have a camera on it. We're not exactly quite sure how that developed, but man, what a blow to those 2 riders, especially for Emig.
Right, so it's just like you said, he had to come into the mechanics area and get some changes, but in that whole lap, he probably had to ride pretty slow before he could get around there with parts flying out into the spokes.
We are in the early stages of Moto number 1 here at Millville, Minnesota. As you take a look at the Suzuki Field Summary, get a good look at our top 10. Welcome back to Moto number 1 here at Millville, Minnesota. Back up front, you get a good look at coming over some of the jumps there. Donnie Schmidt still hanging on in 4th. You've got up front the 7 bike. That's a Kawasaki with Mike Cadrowski. And Jeremy Mcgrath is hot on his tail, followed by Larry Ward.
Well, Jeremy is close enough to keep a little pressure on Cadrowski, but Cadrowski riding pretty good. The best I've seen him ride in a long time here. I don't think Jeremy particularly fast or anywhere, having a little trouble in that whoop section there. And Larry Ward, pretty close to the leader, so he's having a pretty good day so far.
Just watching the 3 leaders coming through the whoop section right there, it looked like Ward got through the whoops better than the other 2.
Well, that could be he's a little bit taller, and the other thing is, too, it's pretty inconsistent. I don't think anybody's going to go through that whoop section today the same every lap, and it could be that Larry Ward just had it dialed in that particular lap.
Well, Cadrowski leading Mcgrath. David, where were you when I was trying to learn how to ride motocross, man? I tell you, the kids at home don't know the opportunity that they have getting this information from you.
Well, I'm glad I can provide it, and it was fun while it lasted out there riding, and I'm just glad I didn't knock my head. I can still remember some of it.
Well, Mike Cadrowski's having a fun time right now. Look at that. He's put a little distance on the second place rider, Jeremy Mcgrath.
Well, one thing that we didn't point out when we were talking about Cadrowski's year so far is that at Daytona, he did have a little success in between having some terrible rides, and he put together another win, 3 in a row at Daytona. Daytona's sandy, and look what we got here, sand. So he's shining right now.
Well, that's a good point, but look at Mcgrath come through the whoops as he's trying to take over the top spot, but Cadrowski holds on to it for now. Let's check into his pits with Art.
Brian, it just depends on what part of the track they're in. Who's going to be closer than to whom?
Yeah, and it's winding down right now, so the temperature and the heat's really winding on everybody, so it's getting interesting. Plus, larocco's coming up now from behind a little bit, but the front 2 guys are definitely working at it pretty hard.
Front number 5, Johnny Schmidt.
Yeah, Art, they are working real hard at it right now as you look at Cadrowski trying to hold off Mcgrath. Mcgrath put in, look at that. Cadrowski glancing over to see where he is.
Well, I'm pretty sure he knows who it is, so it surprised me to see him look over right there. Maybe he just wanted to see if Mcgrath was sizing him up to try to cut back underneath him, and he covered that move well.
And look at James Dobb has gone down. He's getting back up. Doesn't look like he's hurt the bike too much. Not quite sure exactly what happened, but he gets it refired and will rejoin.
Well, his right shoulder there, you can see a bunch of dirt on that. So that's that tough whoop section we highlighted at the beginning of the show. So he probably took a header right there, and he's just a little groggy.
A little groggy. Well, Cadrowski certainly not groggy at all. He's had things his way after he got by Donnie Schmidt, who took the whole shot and brought all the local fans to their feet. They really like to see the guy coming out of retirement to run out here. And what did that sign say? I missed it.
Well, Skip pointed back behind Mcgrath, and on the board it said he's coming. So I think he's referring to larocco, which Brian Lunas had just talked about. And you hate to see that. I don't like to hear about anybody coming. Right now, I just want to focus on getting around Cadrowski if I can, if I'm Mcgrath, and then you hear somebody's coming, you know you got to go even faster, and that's not very comforting.
Here they come through some of the whoops, and look at Mcgrath make up some of the ground now as he almost draws even with Cadrowski, but he has to drop in and get back in the line to come around that tight turn.
Almost looked like he was drafting him through there.
It did, didn't it?
Yeah, he's close. When you're Cadrowski and you got a guy riding next to you, right beside you like that close everywhere around the racetrack, just makes you nervous, forces you into mistakes, and that's what Mcgrath is so good at.
Oh, look at Mcgrath there. A little bit. That was almost a knack-knack, wasn't it? And look at the ground he made up as he's now challenging for the lead on Cadrowski, almost side by side. But Cadrowski gets the drive, but slips to the outside. Mcgrath on the inside. I think they might have touched momentarily there, but no harm, no foul, and Cadrowski hangs on to the top spot.
Mcgrath just having a little fun with Cadrowski right there, showing him a wheel, trying to make him nervous.
Well, take a look at the top 10, our Suzuki Field Summary. Pick out your favorite rider, and we'll be back with more from Millville right after this. Back at Spring Creek Motocross Park, our second place points man, Jeff Emig, has gotten his bike fixed. And no, this is not a trail ride, it's a motocross event, and Jeff is back out there. Let's check into his pits. Art Ekman is standing by with Steve.
This could have right here meant the points championship, Steve. Unfortunate crash, and he had to do it with a teammate. That's even more unfortunate, but how does the bike look as it's out on the track?
Yeah, he has no front brake. The throttle's really broken. The clutch, I think, is really bent, but he may be able to use it. But without the front brake here and a lot of them steep downhills, I don't think he can go anywhere. It's maybe, I don't know, maybe worthless him being out there, but maybe see how he goes. Might be tempted to pull him in so he can maybe go out and win the second moto.
Well, I think what Steve Butler is talking about with the throttle there is that there's plastic and it rides over the top of the handlebar. When that breaks, I've had that happen to my bike in a big pileup. And what he has to do is turn the throttle on and turn it off because it won't slide on the handlebar. And I think he's right. They should take a close look and see if he's going to be able to get in the top 20, if there's even a shot at it. If not, why waste energy? You heard how hot it is out there. He can just be fresh for the second moto.
Back up front, look at the separation that Mike Cadrowski has put on second place, Jeremy Mcgrath, but more importantly, look at the third place rider, Mike larocco. The rocket is rolling, and he is just about to catch Mcgrath and make a strong challenge for that second spot.
Now look how fast he went through that section right there, up into that corner, didn't even look like he was going to make the turn, so he's on the gas. One thing I like about larocco is he charges hard into corners, hard under braking. He makes up a lot of time there.
Now you look once again up front as Cadrowski looks over his shoulder like, hey, Mcgrath, where'd you go? Oh, you got my teammate to worry about, huh?
Yeah, he's probably hoping larocco can get around and push Mcgrath out of the way, and I think he's going to have to deal with larocco here pretty soon, the way larocco's riding, so I don't think he's off the hook.
You talked about the effect that Mcgrath had on Cadrowski. What about larocco on Mcgrath?
Well, I think he'll make anybody nervous. Larocco has proven that he can go faster than Mcgrath. Mcgrath knows that, and it'll make him nervous.
Oh, man, he is really catching him as they come up the hill. Mcgrath slips outside. Look at larocco. Shoots to the inside down the hill, and larocco has moved past Jeremy Mcgrath into the second spot, and you can just hear everybody here cheering.
I don't believe what I'm seeing. Look at Mcgrath. He's just trail riding right now. He went wide, looked over, saw larocco go by, and just trail rode down the hill and into these switchbacks. Looked like he just completely gave up. And, you know, in his defense, he doesn't have to beat these guys. He probably knows by now that Emmig's buried in the pack. That's his closest contender for the title, but you don't like to see a guy give up like that. The fans want to see Jeremy challenge these guys.
Well, he's still riding along in third place. There's still a little time left in Moto number 1, so maybe he will come back. But right now, Mcgrath sitting in third place. The two Kawasaki guys who had their way for most of last season are running 1-2, Cadrowski and larocco. Let's check into pits with Art Ekman.
Skip, it's kind of hard to be cool on a track like today's.
Yeah, but we got a big break with Emig going down and having some gear problems with his bike. So Jeremy knows he's out of this moto, and that's who we're kind of racing for the championship. Looks like he's kind of taking it easy out there, finishing the top 3 and save his energy and maybe go hammer on him second moto.
Well, he always said that his second moto's his favorite.
Yeah, he's been tearing the second motos up. We just got to do something during the first one.
Well, you're not going to do it by giving up. I mean, it was very obvious to me that Jeremy just shifted into the cruise mode. And I don't know if he's just going to save his energy and try to go back to the second moto like he said or what. But look at him right there. He doesn't even care about this moto right now.
Well, this is a guy who cares for a good finish. He's running along in the 4th spot, Larry Ward. And he really needs something good to happen here as we get to the close of the outdoor season.
Well, something good will be that he'll probably look up there and see Mcgrath riding around slow. Maybe he can pass somebody.
Yeah, but it looks like he's got a long way to go before he's going to catch Mcgrath. But, hey, anything's possible. Right now, Larry Ward's riding out there all alone, and they call it, you know, the Maytag repairman's the loneliest guy in town. Looks like right now Larry Ward is. So how, when you're running, well, he's coming up on one of the lap riders and goes around with these, but when you're running by yourself, you have no concept how fast you're going, do you?
Right, it's kind of boring. You just try to, you know, as a rider, when you've ridden this long, you have that instinct. You know how fast you're going. And right now, Larry looks like he's pacing himself to me. He doesn't look much different than Mcgrath. They're probably running about the same pace. And it is boring, but you try to save energy because you're thinking about the second moto. You try to look at how the track develops so that when the second moto rolls around, you'll have some good lines right off the bat. Hope for a better start.
Back up front now, look at the Rocket. He is closing in on his Kawasaki teammate in a hurry. Mike larocco, he's not going to settle for second. He wants to get around and win this moto.
It looks like he's going to. Wow.
Good grief. Oh, he gets a little squirrely there, but he comes into the outside rut. And look, there the fans got the hankies out waving him around. And now the lap traffic will really play into it as, look, larocco on the inside sweeps around and takes over the top spot.
Well, that's how you win races. And then we're not seeing that from Mcgrath right now. I understand that he's in a position to win the championship and he's got to ride smart, but this is what the fans pay to see. This is what I like to watch when I see a race. The guy that's trying as hard as he can, and larocco's doing it. And I can appreciate that talent and aggression.
Well, let's take another look at that pass, David.
Well, the lap riders obviously played a big part, and I don't think that larocco could have made that pass on Cadrowski. He just got fouled up a little bit, had the wide line, and larocco just rode right in there and took it away.
Right now, larocco is out in front, and he's already put quite a bit of distance between himself and his teammate. Take a look at the top 10 on our Suzuki Field Summary. Back with the finish after this. White flag is out for Mike larocco. Final lap, moto number 1 here at Millville, Minnesota. Crowd cheering him on.
Well, there's a guy that's in shape. This guy is charging hard. It's the final lap. You can see the lead he's got. Doesn't need to charge very hard, but he's still going after it, and that's why he's got that number 1 plate on his motorcycle.
Right now, he's got the number 1 spot. Just tooling around an easy Sunday afternoon ride. Of course, the first half of it wasn't all that easy, was it?
No, he's had his problems this year. I mean, it's got to be just so frustrating for it. I mean, I think he's the fastest rider. In Supercross, he's got his hands full with Mcgrath, but he still had a shot at it when he got hurt, and it had to be a bummer for him to have all these problems in the National and know that he didn't have a chance to win the championship. But you see the effort he still puts out, and I admire that.
It's amazing to me that after breaking the arm at Charlotte and all the time he missed riding, that he is still in this good a shape.
Right, well, he's in fantastic shape. That's something he's known for. And, you know, another thing, too, I mean, I've bagged him a bunch of times on not being able to get good starts, but he sure has improved. I mean, without starts he's been getting, I don't think he could dominate like this.
He doesn't have everything squared away for next year either, does he?
I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm sure he'll be a hot property, and whoever he goes with, he'll get plenty of dough.
Oh, yeah, do-re-mi. Last lap, larocco is out in front. Cadrowski is back in second place. And I'm wondering if on any of our cameras if we can see if Larry Ward ever caught up with Jeremy Mcgrath.
Well, I don't think Jeremy would let that happen. He'd look back there and see him coming, and I think Skip Norfolk would take that chalkboard and whack Jeremy over the head with it if he would let that happen. But they're smart. I mean, you know, I sounded a little disappointed in Jeremy by not really giving it an effort, but he's got to ride for the championship. He's doing the right thing. It's just unfortunate that these guys aren't part of that points chase, and we'd see a real good battle.
Larocco taking it really easy on this final lap to the cheers of the, about 12,000 people here this weekend. I mean, it's an enormous crowd for this place, a record, I'm told.
I think they're all going to jump in the river after this moto because it's hot out here.
Or the river, dump a bucket of ice water on your head, something to cool off. But this guy doesn't want to cool things off. Mike Larocco takes the checkered flag, taking home the victory here in Moto number 1 at the Spring Creek Motocross Park, Millville, Minnesota. So he comes over. Art Ekman will be talking to him in just a moment. But first, he's going to get a drink of water, take off the goggles and the helmet. As you look at the rest of the top 5, Cadrowski, Mcgrath, Larry Ward, and a great ride for Donnie Schmidt coming out of retirement. And as you look at the remainder of the top 10, Art is with our second place finisher.
Well, Mike, it was shades of last year. It was a wonderful ride between you two in this incredible heat.
Yeah, I got a really good start. My KX just pulled everybody down the start, and I knew I got in front of Jeremy. I knew I had the whole shot, and yeah, I tried to ride a smooth, consistent race, and I ended up making a couple mistakes. And, you know, Mike was just a little bit stronger, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, well, it was a fine day for you to come back and take a second place under these conditions.
Yeah, it felt good.
This rider right here, Jeff Emig, probably doesn't feel too good. Finished 21st after crashing, no points. But Art Ekman is down there talking with him now.
As you can see, the dilapidated bike of Jeff Emig and a very big disappointment.
Yeah, I got together. I don't know who it was with on the first lap, and it pretty much, you know, when somebody came over, landed on me, I could see him coming over on me in the air, and I actually let go of my bike and like pushed theirs away, and luckily, you know, I got away without any injury, but unfortunately my bike didn't.
Man, it came at such a crucial time too, Jeff, but that's racing, as they say all the time.
Yeah, well, it ain't over with yet. You know, things got to turn around sometime.
Well, they can't turn around unless you're trying as hard as you can, and boy, does he sound determined right now. So taking a terrible situation and make it into something good. He's obviously motivated. Year under his belt in the 250s, and next year he looks pretty good.
Yeah, he's my early pick for the championship next year. Speaking of the champion, the defending champ, Larocco comes through with the victory. Art's caught up with him.
Well, Mike, it never hurts to come back from injury with a win like that on a very, very difficult day. And a comeback win, especially when you're in your last year of a contract.
Yeah, like I said earlier, you know, I'm starting to feel stronger. I'm getting my strength back. So, you know, I just gave it all I had. I want to win just like before. And, you know, I went out there, gave it 100%, and, you know, I came up with the win.
And as you told us before, and we saw already, the whoops, the sand, you love them. You know, it spells opportunity for you.
Yeah, I grew up a little bit with, I stayed some winters in Florida, and, you know, I got to ride them pretty well. So it's helped me out a lot in my career, and you know, it did today.
Well, stay in the cool here with the fans.
All right, thanks a lot.
Well, we're all going to try and cool down and get set for the start of Moto number 2, coming your way right after this.
Well, those were back in the days when Jeremy Mcgrath didn't ride quite as good outdoors. That's a different story now, and different story for John Dowd today, too. The defending champion having his problems in the first moto, but the second moto, he has a chance to redeem himself.
And you got to watch Jeff Emig in this moto, I think.
Oh, I think he looks pretty focused and obviously very motivated from what happened to him in the first moto, and it'll be tough.
Now Mcgrath has padded his points lead even more. Came in here with a 19-point lead. It's already been padded by Moto number 1. Remember that Emig finished out of the points in the 21st spot. There they go.
Long, flat drag race to the first corner. Looks like Emig got the whole shot.
Looked like Cadrowski's also in there pretty good. And oh, look at second spot. It's Larry Ward off to a great start here. But oh, we've got a rider down. It's a red bike. Looks like one of the Hondas.
Looked like Mcgrath.
Man, yes, it was. Jeremy Mcgrath all the way back to last. And look at it, having a little problems refiring it, just taking his time. Now I guess he'll just feel things out to make sure he's okay. Shakes his head. What does that do when you shake your head? Does it really shake the cobwebs out like they all say?
I don't know. Just shakes the sand around inside of your goggles. There's another rider down. Larocco.
Look at Larocco.
That doesn't look good. He's already got his helmet off. That's Roy Turner, the team manager, right there with him. But a great start for Jeff Emig. That's just what he needed. And you remember in that soundbite at the end of the first moto, he said something's got to change. Well, it just did.
Well, Mcgrath certainly at a disadvantage. He's well back. Hey, look, there's 114. David Bradshaw off to a pretty good start, too.
Well, he's been needing one. That poor guy's been in every pile. All the stuff that's been happening has been happening to him. And finally, a good, clean start.
But Jeff Emig, after just that terrible luck on the first lap in the first moto today, gets the whole shot out in front, but he's got to contend with Mike Cadrowski.
No, what he's got the advantage of right now, he's riding through those sections where the track's been water, a little slick.
Look at that, Larocco, the left knee. Man, you got to hope that he didn't tear a ligament, or now looking down at the ankle.
Well, that doesn't look good. It looks like, he doesn't look to be in a lot of pain, but if they're taking the boot off, they want to look at his knee. I'm not sure if he wears a knee brace on that side. A lot of guys do. That's the last thing he needs is another injury.
Well, he's able to move it around, but it looks like he's in a little bit of pain. You know, it's not like when you see a football player get blindsided from the side and they tear that ACL. You see them just wincing in pain. Larocco looks like maybe he's going to be okay. We hope so, anyway.
Well, not for this moto, but he's not in the contention. Well, he's obviously upset.
Yeah, he's very mad and really look at pain there, but boy, we certainly hope that it's nothing serious. Now back up to the battle up front. Jeff Emig leading Cadrowski. Larry Ward is in there, and that's John Dowd off to a good start. Remember, he also, along with Emig, got tangled up that first moto.
Right, well, Larry Ward with a pair of good starts, and John Dowd with the start he needs. Remember, he was pretty fast here last year, picked up his first ever national, well, actually his second. He won his first one in the mud. This one here was a lot more convincing, edging out Larocco.
And where is Jeremy Mcgrath? Boy, that's got to put a lot of pressure on him because, Emig could go on and win this. Say the same thing happened to Jeremy. The roles are reversed, and you're right back into the points title chase is tight again.
Well, that's one of the interesting things about motocross is that you can never predict anything. I mean, in theory, everything goes pretty smooth, but once you get out there, riders knock you down, and you have problems with the bike. There's all kinds of things that can go wrong, and it's not going too good for Larocco today, but he did win the first moto, and he's seems to be able to walk pretty good on his own, so that's a good sign.
He's not going to get back on the bike. He's just talking things over. Maybe they'll push it back, but yeah, it's a good thing, the good sign that he's able to walk. Even with help, he wasn't carried off.
No, like I said, he doesn't need any more injuries. I think he's had his share for an entire career, really. He's been through quite a lot, and Jeff Emig having his problems in the first moto, but things are looking good for him right now, and he looked determined in that interview where he said, well, luck's got to change sometime, and I think he may have been referring to the ease that Mcgrath has had for the past several years, really not having any kind of injuries to deal with or any bike problems, just winning everything. Everyone around him having a lot of problems, and that's all changed in this moto. Mcgrath having to come from dead last.
And look at John Dowd. He's gotten around Larry Ward and taken over that third spot. He, along with Emmick, both very determined here in the second moto after the problems they experienced in that very first moto.
Well, Cadrowski knows how to go fast here. He rode fantastic in the first moto. He doesn't have his teammate Larocco to contend with, so you would think he'd be the fastest rider on the racetrack, but determination can overcome quite a bit.
Well, things are starting to shake out as they settle down in the early stages of Moto number 2. You get a look at the top 10 on our Honda Field Summary. Back with more right after this. Welcome back to Spring Creek Motocross Park, Millville, Minnesota. Art Ekman down in the pits, David Bailey and John Kernan up top. Your leader, Jeff Emig, has put just a little bit of distance on the second place battles. Cadrowski soon to have his hands full with John Dowd.
Well, I think he already does. Look, he does a little tank slap there with the front end. And you hear about head shake? Well, that's a good look at what it's like. Doesn't feel good when you're riding the motorcycle, but obviously Cadrowski's pushing the pace, and that's what happens.
Yeah, but look at that. John Dowd trying a different line coming through those whoops. He gets alongside Cadrowski. Dowd going for second spot as Team Yamaha trying to take over the first two spots, but he just cannot do it. And if he's not careful, Dowd's going to have to contend with Larry Ward in a moment. This is a great battle for second place.
It's a good race. And John Dowd through that sand section right there, you have a little Southwick flashback. Started to go pretty fast there, but he got out of control and couldn't make that pass.
Once again, Jeff Emig is up front. He's put a little bit of distance on Cadrowski, and the battle now is kind of, for second place, is kind of settled down just a little bit down. Riding along in third, Larry Ward is sitting in the fourth spot after getting off to another good start.
Well, Jeremy Mcgrath still way back in the pack. He could possibly go even in points, like you said, with Jeff Emig, if Emig can hold on to that lead.
Well, we showed you earlier that Mike larocco injury maybe to a knee in a crash early, and for more on that, let's go to Art Ekman.
Roy, from your standpoint, what did you see in that first turn?
Well, it's a tight first turn. The turn's not tight, but everybody came from the outside, swept across, chopped his front wheel off. He tangled with Mcgrath, was who came across the top of him and took his front wheel. Went across the tires, and he caught his leg on one of those tires, and he hyperextended his knee.
So it's likely not a dangerous injury then?
Well, you wouldn't say that, no. He says he feel like he hyperextended his knee, and anytime you do that, it can take a while. So he seems to be getting around pretty quick already right now, so we'll just have to, take an hour or two here and evaluate it and see what's up.
Well, we mentioned that he's able to walk around without too much pain, but you never know in a couple hours what can flare up. You can get some fluid in there, and that could be a serious problem. But regardless, you hate to see the top-notch riders out of the series, and it looks like he's going to be out for the day. We've already had Doug Henry with a serious injury. Greg Albertine's out with a navicular, so there's not that many good guys left. And, it's really unfortunate.
It's almost to the point now where everybody's saying, wait till next year.
Yeah, well, that's good news for Mcgrath, but it's not good news for racing. You want to see everyone out there healthy.
Jeff Emig has a healthy lead right now over Cadrowski. John Dowd is third. There's Larry Ward riding along in the fourth spot, and I didn't quite catch who was riding along in fifth. Did you catch that? Well, never mind that. Let's watch this battle for the second spot. It's really shaping up to be a good one, it looks like.
Well, I think to answer your question, I think it's Damon Bradshaw who's cruising around there in fifth. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And he's just waiting for these three guys to take each other out. What a good battle. Larry Ward's still hanging in there pretty tough. Larry's hadn't had a real good outdoor season after that incredible indoor season he had. And these guys are going fast. They're pushing the pace, and Larry's right there.
I didn't mean to interrupt you there with that, but I thought Cadrowski was going to dump it there on that bank. Man, he got out of shape.
Oh, he just went out there and rode into that bank, tried to square off the corner. They watered the track right there, and because it's in the shade, it hasn't really dried out. He's just looking to hook up, but John Dowd had a little better line on the inside right there, and if he's close enough in the next couple of laps, if he hasn't gotten around him already, he might be able to pass him there.
Well, John Dowd last year had 2 overall victories. As we mentioned, he's the defending champ of the Millville race from last year. This year, though, his best finish has been a second at Mount Morris. And he well with that crash in the first moto, he has no chance at the overall, so he can only come back and salvage a moto victory here in the second. And I'm sure that's what's on his mind.
Oh, I'm sure it is. And the leader's not that far away, but what's funny is now that Jeff Emig is out there leading, I got to wonder if Yamaha would want to see that happen. I don't think so. With Emig trying to gain as many points on Mcgrath, it may just give John a sign that says, just hang back there behind your teammate and let him gather a few more points.
You don't think if Mcgrath actually comes through, he might play a blocking role, would you think?
Oh, I think he just might. I would. That'd be smart business on Yamaha's part. I mean, a title is important, and they haven't won one in a pretty long time.
Well, you know that Steve Butler and all the Yamaha people are keeping a close tab on where Jeremy Mcgrath is, and they're calculating the points probably every single lap.
Well, Jeremy can carve through a pack in the span of a moto. He can carve through just about everybody, and I don't know if it's really necessary to start tabulating right now, because by the time they get finished tabulating, they'll have to retabulate, because they'll pass 5 more guys.
We're in the middle stages of Moto number 2 here at Millville as you get a look at our top 10 on the Honda Field Summary. Back with more after this. ESPN Speed World welcomes you back to Spring Creek Motocross Park, Millville, Minnesota. We've got a tight 4-way battle for the lead here in Moto number 2, but it is Jeff Emig, the Yamaha rider, second in points, who is leading it. But now you get a good look back at John Dowd, who's riding along in the 3rd spot. Boy, it looks like the right leg almost came off the pegs there, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. He's pushing as hard as he can, and right there,
look at that. Man, he comes down on the jump and takes over that 2nd spot. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, David.
That's okay. This is the action. And, John Dowd he's not pretty, and but he makes it work. So it doesn't matter. If he can stay back on the motorcycle, keep it on 2 wheels, doesn't matter what it looks like, as long as he goes fast.
Now you're talking about the riding style, right? You're not talking about his face, okay?
Oh, he's beautiful.
Right now, he's feeling beautiful. He has moved into the second spot to put Cadrowski back to third. Now, Damon Bradshaw has been running in the top 5, and earlier we talked to him about how difficult his comeback had been.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be tough. I knew there was a lot of guys out there capable of winning, and it's just that. There's a bunch of guys that are going fast, and I can do their speed. I know because I've done it, whether it's been in practice or sometime during the moto. But it's just a matter of being able to run it for 35 minutes. Because those guys can run that pace the whole time.
There you get a look at what Damon was talking about as he came down that straightaway, got a little out of shape in those holes, went up against that bank, foot came off the peg, and he was unable to run that pace the way these guys are. Schmidt was able to make that pass. Damon is probably one of the most competitive motocross riders I've ever known. I mean, he's a lot like, I think, Michael Jordan. They talk about his competitiveness, or Charles Barkley. You can bet that he's not going to be satisfied with running around in 4th and 5th. And come next season, he'll be ready.
I was going to ask you about next year. Does he just feel things out now, the remaining motos of this year?
Well, this year really for him is just training. Just go out there, get in shape, get used to riding with these guys, get used to the bikes. I mean, the bikes have made a lot of changes since he was riding, and that's what he's doing. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to put together a win, but the season's not over yet.
No, it's not, and that's why they raced. Jeff Emig came into this event trailing Jeremy Mcgrath by 19 points. The first moto, he crashed, finished out of the points 21st, and you heard that interview with Art Ekman between motos, how he said some things had to change. Well, they have. He's up front, and now he's going to face a challenge from his Yamaha teammate, John Dowd. So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see if what you said, the advice you might have given them, that Dowd should hang back, if that will play out. It looks like Dowd's trying to go for the lead.
Well, it sure does. That's a section Dowd's so fast in. Look at that.
Dowd takes over the lead, takes over the spot, drops Emig back, and that will cost Emig 3 points.
I think Yamaha didn't make a very good decision or possibly Jeff on his part. I mean, he didn't get any points in the first moto. He had to ride the entire moto with all kinds of problems with an ill-handling motorcycle, wore himself out. Right now, I think he looks a little tired. Had he sat out that first moto, which didn't earn him any points anyway, he'd be more fresh and able to win this moto. And, they can't expect John Dowd to ride around in second gear. He's got to go out and try his hardest. And in this case, Emmig's just not going fast enough.
Well, let's go a little further back in the pack, and Jeremy Mcgrath has rallied from that crash in the early, on that first lap, as a matter of fact. He is riding along now in the 7th spot, I believe. So Emig running along in 2nd, so that's a point differential of what, about 10 points?
Not enough.
Not enough. Let's check into Jeremy's pits.
Skip, you just got through saying 2 more on that pit board.
Yeah, I'm hoping we can get up to Donnie Schmidt. He's running 5th. We need to get in the top 5 and take back some of what Emig is getting right now. So it's going to be tough, but there should be about 6 laps left.
So many things happen so quickly in this game.
They sure do. 1 minute you're doing good, and the next minute you're picking it up off the ground. That's racing.
That's a standard response. That's racing. Did you ever use that?
That's used a little bit too often, maybe sometimes as a cop-out, but you got to admire the attitude of Skip Norfolk, always looking for the positive side of things, and that's why those guys win.
Well, there's Larry Ward, and look at Donnie Schmidt. He's riding along in the 5th spot, having a really nice ride, and that's got to be quite encouraging for him. But Ward is holding down the 4th spot, while Dowd is the leader on your Honda Field Summary. Pick out your favorite rider, and we'll be back with the finish right after this. We are back at Spring Creek Motocross Park, Millville, Minnesota. Art Ekman, David Bailey, and John Kernan as we watch Larry Ward continue to circulate as Donnie Schmidt is behind him. That's a 4th and 5th place. It might shape up to a battle. Look, Schmidt's trying some different lines. He's trying to catch up. He'd love to win that 4th spot here in this second moto.
It looks like he's closing in a little bit on Larry Ward, and I'll tell you what, Larry Ward looks a little tired. He doesn't look as aggressive as I've seen him look. And look at that. I mean, just in the last couple of corners, he really closed the gap. So I'm pretty impressed. Schmidt, he doesn't do this all the time anymore, and he's in pretty good shape.
Came out of retirement for this. A former world champion who won a 125 and a 250 world motocross title. And look at this. He sweeps by, takes over 4th spot, and Larry Ward says, go ahead.
Yeah, not much of a fight from Larry Ward right there. And I can tell you that it's hot out there. It's hot. These guys are tired. It's the end of the second moto. And Donnie Schmidt, being a local guy, obviously used to the conditions here. We're going to take another look at this pass, which wasn't really all that exciting. Donnie Schmidt just kind of gassed out of the corner, had the better line, and Larry Ward didn't put up much of a fight, so it's pretty easy for him. But I think he's used to this humidity. he's used to this racetrack. He's done well here in the past, and nothing different today.
And you can hear the fans cheering him on. And I got to ask you, you're out of the points. I mean, with the Supercross season and the outdoor season, it's a long year for you. If you're out of the points as you get to the final motos, do you let down mentally at all?
A little bit. I mean, that's what I really want to see from McGrath. I think everyone wants to see it in the years to come, and he's starting to show signs of that right now. I mean, he's putting together a pretty good moto. He came from dead last. I mean, he's getting shoved over the berm right here from Kyle Lewis. He doesn't want to see McGrath ahead of him, but I mean, he's working his way. Maybe he'll be able to get inside the top 5, and that's the kind of ride you want to see from a champion.
Well, McGrath, of course, going down on the very first lap, has worked his way back into the 7th spot, fighting now, trying to get the 6th spot, and he gets around Kyle Lewis, and Kyle got crossed up there a little bit, it looked like.
Yeah, and Jeremy looked over like, you know, I didn't really appreciate you pushing me over the berm. I'm going to look over at you and just make this pass a little bit worse.
A little bit of mind games, huh?
Yeah, Jeremy's, I can't believe how well he's caught back up to everyone. But you know what happens is, I mean, if Henry's not out there, Larocco's out of it. We already mentioned that Albertine's out of it. I mean, that would drop him back 3 positions. So right now, Emmig's wishing those guys were still in the field.
Oh, you better believe it. Right now, John Dowd is wishing that this day would be over, and he's going to get his wish very, very shortly. One more circuit left around the Spring Creek Motocross Park, and Dowd, the overall winner last year, will pick up the moto victory, and it would be his first moto win of the season.
Yeah,
am I right?
I think so. He looked like he was going to win a moto in Southwick when he had shock problems, and there's a look at Emig, still running second, and it looks like Cadrowski still holding on to number 3 position. If he can do that with a 2-3, he'll be able to win the overall.
Man, I'm telling you what, Dowd has checked out on Emig. Emig has checked out on Cadrowski on that long straightaway shot a couple of turns before this. You could see that there was no one behind him.
Well, I can tell you that Emig doesn't want to have to ride through that big whoop section anymore today. That takes so much energy out of you. They're riding through the shade right here. That probably feels good. Then they burst out into the sun right here. Look how much energy. They got to pick that front end up and jump the bike from hole to hole. If you let the front end drop right there, you're going to go over the handlebars.
And we don't want to see him do that. Cadrowski in the 3rd spot as you get a look at him. And as you said, if he stays in this position, he'll pick up the overall victory. It'll be 2nd overall of the year. But hear the cheers for this man here, John Dowd, as he's in the final few turns, raising that left hand, waving to the crowd. The checkered flag is out, and Dowd takes the moto victory.
2 years in a row winning the 2nd moto. Just too bad he couldn't put together something in the 1st moto.
Ellie gets a congratulatory pat on the back, and they got to be pretty happy. First moto victory of the season, but here comes Cadrowski along. He'll take the 3rd spot, and Mike Cadrowski will pick up the overall victory here at Millville. Here's some of the fans' reaction. He looks pretty interested in waving that checkered flag, doesn't he? It even gets hot for the flagman here. Dowd wins moto number 2, followed by Jeff Emig, Cadrowski, Donnie Schmidt. What a great ride for him. Mcgrath rallies to 5th place. Then it's Ward, Lewis, Amaratio, Lawrence, and Cliff Palmer. And Art Ekman is with Cadrowski.
Well, I know this is going to be a very special trophy in your trophy case for this year.
Yeah, you know, it's been a tough year, and I've had just a lot of problems. You know, I haven't changed anything. I've been doing the same thing I always did when I won championships, and it just seemed like things wouldn't work, and I was getting a lot of bad luck here and there, and, you know, things just weren't going my way. But, you know, it was really hot today, and my Kawasaki rode great, man, over all the bumps and everything. I felt great all day from Friday practicing and everything. So I'd like to thank my mechanic, Brian Lennis, and Team Kawasaki. They did a great job.
Well, in next year's budget, just get a little extra budget for the track guys to put more sand on each track.
Yeah, maybe so. You know, I've won at almost every national that we go to now, and, you know, it feels really good to accomplish that. And, you know, I feel real comfortable here, and I've won a lot of races here.
Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you.
And as you take a look at the top 5 and the overall results, you'll notice that Jeff Emig is nowhere to be found, even as we go further back and take a look at the complete top 10. Well, Art Ekman is caught up with John Dowd.
But John, after that first moto, who would have thunk it?
Well, I was kind of hoping. I mean, I could see that I was keeping the pace with them guys, even though I was a lap down, but it gave me some confidence for the second moto. I was just hoping to get through the start and not get tangled up again like the first moto.
Congratulations on putting that first moto behind you.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Take a look at the point standings. Jeremy Mcgrath has lengthened his lead to 33 points over Jeff Emig. Is it over yet?
never over. You heard Jeff Emig talking about it's not over. Luck's got to change sometime, and look what happened in the second moto. Mcgrath going down, starting from dead last. Emig with the whole shot. Anything can happen.
Well, of course, we saw Mike LaRocco injuring apparently his knee in the second moto. We'll have more on that from our next show, which comes your way from Washougal, Washington. For Art Ekman and David Bailey, I'm John Kernan. Goodbye, everybody.